What is going on, everybody? Today we're looking at some Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Shadows of the Empire figures. So first up we have Prince Xizor, which looks pretty cool. So we have his species design there with the all green skin, nice dress design, all that. Comes with the staff and everything. Looks really cool. Love like the box design with the purple for Shadows of the Empire. Looks really nice for that. Spin it to the side, see him pose up there. I think, yeah, we should have, I guess they don't really do the collage thing, at least with this design there. But the nice picture there on the side and that same picture there on the back with a little bit of his story there. Of course, I'll go into more details. So it just looks pretty cool, pretty iconic figure, especially for Shadows of the Empire. And then we get this 2-pack of Luke and Leia. Of course, we get Leia in the Boushh outfit, so already had her multiple times, so nothing really too interesting about that. Maybe new face design or something. We'll have to check it out with the old ones. But then we get Luke in the Imperial Guard armor, which looks pretty cool. So the all red armor there, which looks nice. Of course, the Luke head design on there, so you can have it unmasked if you want it. Just looks pretty cool. We saw that side box art design there of our two figures, and those same two pictures there on the back with a little bit of the story for that. So pretty cool 2-pack of Luke and Leia there as well for Shadows of the Empire. So I'm excited to check them out. So let me get them open out of the box and we'll take a look at them together. So we're going to start off with Prince Xizor, who is a failing male of House Xizor, which is a species of reptilian humanoids known for their beauty and the pheromones they exude. He became the underlord of the Black Sun criminal syndicate during the time of the Galactic Civil War. Following the Battle of Hoth, he was considered one of the most influential beings in the galaxy due to his wealth and influence, and helping provide assistance with building of the Death Star 2. But he would also develop a rivalry with Darth Vader and attempted to seek favor with the Emperor by trying to kill Luke Skywalker. But when Vader discovered Xizor was trying to kill Luke, Vader ordered the destruction of Xizor's ship, resulting in his death. Now, Xizor, being a failing, they are cold-blooded reptilians with long lifespans, typically have green skin but can change based on the pheromones they release, and the pheromones can make them irresistible to anyone regardless of gender or species. So he looks pretty cool, of course, a nice classic character design, especially for Shadows of the Empire. He was like a big character with that storyline, so it looks pretty cool here. So we get his green skin again, the more reptile-like design. Looks pretty good there with his face. Love how we get all like the sunkenness and deepness and stuff in that face and just all the different designs. We get his high ponytail there, so pretty much no hair except for hair coming out there, with another little one coming out to the sides. We get the nice little hair designs with gold bands holding that. We get his back, so there you can see more of the like reptilian-like design there showing with his back. But then we get his fancy outfit, so we get like this purplish sort of color, so looks like a darker gray maybe in the midsection, so for like around his neck going down the center here. Love all the designs, almost like a jigsaw like design running through there all the way down to the bottom. But then we get this like big shoulder piece here that's got more purple in it with gold around the outsides. Looks really nice there with purple arms coming down, of course gold bands holding on some like sleeve pieces there and around his wrist as well, going into his long creepy fingered hands there. So he's got the long claws there on his hand, then more gold design running down the center, and then especially designs there at his belt. We get the lining there of his robes or whatever he's wearing here, gold at the end, like little tassels there at the end of it, and gold outlining the bottom of the dress as well. Gold on the back continues with the like shoulder piece there, so it just looks really cool with the gold, purple, and green design all combined here together. And then underneath we get purple pants, and then just has some wrapped up boots there on his feet as well. So just a really nice design overall. Again, really nice to add another alien species to our collection. But moon-wise, we get his head that will twist around, so twist all the way around there and look down that far and up that far. So pretty decent moons. We do have a little neck joint down here, as well as the head up with like the dumbbell joint. So not a whole lot of range with both of those. Should be better, but we do get that much range, which is nice. And as I showed, the ponytails do move around too, so if you need to get those out of the way. Then we go to the shoulders, which do come up to 90, and it has like the butterfly joint and will rotate around within there. We get the single elbow joint that bends to 90 with rotation. The wrist will twist all the way around and flex up and down for this hand specifically. Then we get the ab crunch, which is just at the waist for him, so crunch back and forth and twist all the way around. Then we can go to the legs. Of course, got to get all the dress and stuff out of the way here to get access to his legs. So his legs will come up. If you kind of force it, you can get it up towards 90, but of course it's hitting with the dress and stuff, so it won't go up too high, and out to the side there as well, which is nice. Feels like there is a little bit of a thigh twist, just a little bit of back and forth twist. Then we get the single knee joint that bends to 90. Of course, that'll rotate in there as well. And then we do get a shin twist at the top of the boot, so that'll twist all the way around, and the foot will flex back and forth and twist side to side. So good movements overall for this. Of course, your standard Star Wars with the single knees and elbows. Would love to have the doubles, but they go with the singles on these, but he works out fine just the way he is. No real issues or anything. Now, accessory-wise, he does come with a staff. I'm not really sure if there's any significance to it or just the staff he carries. Nice gold details. Of course, the whole staff is gold mostly, but nice detail there at the top with that design. Love how there's like purple cloth hanging off there as well, like a tassel, and then wrapped around the handle there is purple and gold everywhere else. So we can put this into his hand. So Xizor can have that staff now along with him, which is pretty cool. Now the show with all these figures, I do want to show that I do have the old, I guess what you'd call them vintage collection figures, but the old like 3.75 figures, especially from the 90s. And with this specifically, the Shadows of the Empire figures. So here we have the Prince Xizor from back then. Of course, what he looks like, of course, obviously looks much better nowadays than what this old figure was. And of course, we did have this figure growing up, so I played with this figure quite a bit and, you know, it looks goofy and stuff, but I always knew him, especially from this figure here. So really nice design. Have this robe you can take off and stuff and see his outfit underneath and all that, so it just looks pretty cool with that design. But the main reason I'm showing this specifically is that he also came with some energy blades. So these were the weapons they gave him, which are nice like fan blades, but they're made of energy. Of course, here they are locked together. You can't unlock them and separate them out here, but because they were always so big for that figure, I thought they'd look really cool with this. Now I'm sure I'm not the first person that have shown these off. Just with these old figures, they always tend to give them really big weapons, so they seem to fit much better with the bigger figures like we did with Momominadon and everything. So let's put these into his hands. So there I tried to pose him up with those fan blades. Of course, they don't really fit perfectly into his hands and stuff. He can't hold on to them, and I assume this is how I use them because that's always how I've seen pictures. People have him in his hand facing back this way, so it's almost more like shield. But yeah, I'm sort of posed up like ready to fight with those shields, and like I said, they do fit overall, at least look a lot better size-wise and everything with our 6-inch Black Series figures as opposed to the old style figures. But just want to show that off that they do fit really good with this. He can hold on to him, like I said, maybe not hold on to him the best, but he can hold him and stuff, and that looks pretty cool. But I think for me, I'll just keep him how he came with the staff in his hand because it makes him look more regal and everything. But just really cool that we can use those energy blades. And then moving over to our 2-pack, first we'll start with Leia, who of course is in the Boushh disguise. Now Boushh was a freelance bounty hunter that frequently worked for the Black Sun and Xizor, but he began blackmailing members and requesting additional payments, which angered Xizor. So a meeting was set up with Boushh and Xizor's human replicant droid named Guri to pick up a payment, but she ended up snapping his neck and kept his armor. But Guri then eventually gave the armor to Princess Leia so that she could infiltrate Coruscant to meet up with Xizor, where she was eventually taken captive. Now, of course, she's wearing the Ubi's armor, which is what Boushh was Ubi's, so she has his outfit and armor design on and stuff. And of course, he was a smaller guy, so that's why Princess Leia can easily fit into it and everything. So it's cool to have this here. Of course, we've had, I think this is the 3rd time getting the Boushh Leia, but they did make improvements to it, at least some of the designs. I think they did the helmet again. Looks like we have better like face printing and look and stuff. Looks pretty good overall. I wasn't upset or anything with the last one. I think it was the archive one or whatever. I thought it looked pretty good, but just overall the face design seems a little bit better on this. It's hard to tell if it still looks much like Carrie Fisher, but I do think it looks decent overall, especially with her hair back and the little bun there and stuff. Looks good. But then we get the outfit design, so we get the tan like mostly outfit design, so the sleeves up on the chest there and a little bit of like material hanging down. Of course, we have the additional cloth hanging down on the back, so whatever that's supposed to be with the little backpack design, that is nice like printing stuff on it there. Get the belt around the waist with the sash that goes up with some bullets and all that. That's cool. Little device here around her neck with like this chest piece here. It looks pretty nice with the dark gray wrappings around her waist and on her arms, as well as sleeves going into the hands. So nice design for those there. And then we get this weird like orange color sort of pants, but it looks like probably reused from the old ones, but the pants with some designs there around the knees, like rib designs going into the boots. So we get the tan color boots there that come up to just under her knees and then down to the feet there as well with the like disc designs on each side of that. So it just looks decent overall. You know, it just looks like the Boushh Leia we've had multiple times. Just the colors and stuff have probably changed over time. But movement-wise, we get that'll twist around, so it'll twist all the way around there. It can look down that far and up that far, so it looks like we actually have a hinge disc in there, but because of the hair and everything, doesn't really allow a whole lot of movement. We have the shoulders that come up to 90, and we'll rotate all the way around. Get the single elbow joint, which is pretty stiff there. We can bend about that far, so not even to 90. With rotation, we get the wrist that'll twist all the way around and flex back and forth. Then we go to the ab crunch, which is just under the chest section, so just under all this. She will crunch back and forth and and twist around there as well. But of course with the straps and all that, it doesn't really get too much movement. Then we have the legs that do come up. You've kind of forced them there, can go up that high at least and out to the side just a little. We do have a thigh twist up in there, so it'll twist all the way around, and the double knee joint that will bend up. Of course, hard to really get the separation here, and with the skirting coming down, whatever, can get up that far, which isn't bad at all. And then we go down to the foot that'll rock back and forth. Of course, with the design, you can see you don't get a whole lot of movement back and forth though, but a little back and forth and twist side to side. So not bad overall. Of course, it is an older body design and stuff, just reusing that older body, just like I said, with the new printing like on the head and all that, but still looks pretty good. Now, of course, we do have her in disguise, so we do also get Boushh's helmet here, so it looks pretty nice. Now, this is the thing, I do believe they have changes as well. Just seems like they raised the visor up a little bit more and changed maybe some of the color designs, but looks pretty good overall. I love how there's almost like a silvery pearlescent wash to and stuff. That looks pretty nice. Some dirtiness maybe as well, but with this, we can just sit this on top of her head, of course, so it just sits right on there as that. So there we technically have like Boushh now, that we can use it as a bounty hunter instead of Leia. Then she comes with some accessories. So first we get the thermal detonator, so the little thermal detonator, nice there in the silver color with the black line painted around it. We can put this into her hand, obviously, or we can attach it onto her belt. She has a little peg there, and there's a hole in the thermal detonator, so we can peg this on just like that, so that'll hold on to it. So we got that now. And then she also comes with, I think it's an electro staff. A lot of stuff, at least from the old figures, labeled it as a gun, which I'm like, this doesn't look anything like a gun, but it looks more like a staff of some sort. So yeah, I assume an electro staff that we can put into her hand. Now, of course, because of their hand design and the limits of it, it doesn't really hold on to it too well or anything, so hard to really get her to pose up with that. I wish the hand had more range in it, but she can hold on to the electro staff there, so that looks really nice. Now, of course, we had the figures in the past, so this is, I think, the Archive Collection one. So you can see, like with the helmet, just the changes that they've made, you can tell a little bit difference. Looks like they shrunk it down a little, and then just some of the art changes and stuff of the colors, and then, of course, we can also show the faces off and see the printing difference between the two. I think I like the dark hair on Leia more, and to me this looks much more like Carrie Fisher, but this overall looks more realistic and has the lighter color hair and stuff. So probably like they've been doing recently, especially like the Farm Boy Luke, where it had more of, I'd say, a cartoony look, like the face looked more real, but it doesn't look like Mark Hamill exactly. So I feel this is more in line with that. But yeah, we got the two differences between them there. So overall, I do really like this one. I don't really know which one I like more. Obviously, I could just switch the heads out with either one. And then just because I showed it with Xizor, here is the old vintage one as well from the Shadows of the Empire version. So it looks very similar overall. I know a lot of similarities between the two, of course, carried over between the two. And even with this one, we get the unmasked that, of course, doesn't look anything like her. So definitely this new one is much better, but just wanted to show that as well. So very nice to have this Princess Leia in the Boushh disguise. Like I said, don't really know how many more we'll get of these, since, like I said, this is at least the third one. So hopefully they don't continue just to remake these over and over, but at least this one does look really good. So it'll be a nice addition and the perfect one for the collection. And that brings us to our other figure of the 2-pack of Luke Skywalker in the Imperial Guard outfit. So when Princess Leia gets captured by Xizor in his castle on Coruscant, Luke and Lando decide to rescue her, but with being on the Emperor's most wanted list and a bounty on his head by Xizor, they can't just travel to Coruscant, so they steal uniforms from Coruscant guards and infiltrate Xizor's castle. And of course with this, he's wearing specialized armor that is issued to the Coruscant guard that is heavily armored and has a helmet with advanced sensors. So he looks cool here, just in this mostly like new Imperial Guard design, which is mostly all red, so we get like the Imperial Guard we've seen before, you know, with like Palpatine and everything. So it's like that mixed with a Stormtrooper sort of design, so looks really cool here with a lot of the red and black. So we get the black body glove underneath with the red armor on top, so nice big red armor plate on here. Love like the ranking logos, little pieces there up on his shoulders. Of course, this piece over here on the side is to hold this cape on, so it just has a plastic cape on this side. So nice with the silver added to it. We get big shoulder pauldrons there, nice bands around the arms. Of course, forearm guards there as well in red. Go into the gloves, mostly all black with red armor. We see the armored up midsection. Again, looks kind of like Stormtrooperish. Belt around the waist with some silver designs on it, which is pretty nice, with some little pieces going down to the side, almost like pockets or something. Of course, they're all plastic and don't hold anything, but nice designs. With the upper pants leg in red, of course, has like a nice leather design to it. Of course, codpiece, I forgot about that on there too. Then black in between the red and the boots there, but we get some red knee pads on it, so that's pretty nice with those almost like diamond designs all the way to the boots there. So it looks looks kind of like the normal Stormtrooper boots, just all in red this time with a little like black strap there around it. Looks pretty good. Then of course we get the back of him, so the back of his armor there, like I said, he has that cape hanging off and everything, so it just looks really cool. So this would be a nice figure just to release by itself, you know, with the helmet stuck on permanently just as Imperial guards, or it'd be cool if they released this as an individual, so we have another body that we have, you could technically army build, but maybe have Lando's head on it because Lando wears this outfit as well. But looks good with Luke there, so we get the face of Luke Skywalker. Again, not the best design wise, but overall has that more realistic look to it. Love his hair and all that. Looks pretty good overall for Luke from this. But movement-wise, we get his head that'll twist all the way around, can look down that far and up that far, so again, not the best range ever. Shoulders will come up to 90 and has like a butterfly joint in there, and of course we'll rotate around as well with the armor moving with it. We get the single elbow joint that bends to 90 with rotation, get the wrist that'll twist all the way around, and flex, yeah, it has the flex up and down there. We get the ab crunch, so just under the chest section, crunch back and forth and twist all the way around. And then we go down to the hips that'll come up. You got to kind of get them out to the side though to get up towards 90 and out to the side there. A little bit of thigh twist going on, and the single knee joint that bends back to 90 with the rotation. Then we go down to the foot that'll rock back and forth and twist side to side. So not bad for the movements at all, you know, works out pretty nice, about the typical for the Star Wars, especially like trooper figures. So just fits perfectly along the lines with that. Now, of course, accessory wise, we do get his helmet, as I mentioned, so we get this nice helmet design. Looks pretty cool. Again, doesn't really look like anything we've seen before, but I love like the design, like just the way the visor looks and all that, the little like mouth area and stuff. Just looks really cool. And of course, we just stick this on Luke's head there. So now we have that. And like I said, with this form here, we could army build these now just to have these Imperial guards. But of course, with these, you have to buy the 2-pack that comes with a bunch of Boushhs, so you'd have all those. So like I said, hopefully they will release this individually. They could just leave it like this with the helmet permanently stuck on, or if they want to do it just to have a Lando head under there, and then you could just buy a bunch of them and put the helmets on him and army build them that way. And then he comes with a staff as well, a taser staff as I believe it's labeled, so just this pretty basic looking staff design that we can put into his hand. And his hands do seem a little stiff, so not the easiest to get into his hands there. But there we have Luke now with the staff, so of course you can get him to like dual wield it and stuff like that. Looks pretty cool there though, Luke with that staff as the Imperial Guard armor here, so that looks really cool. And as I've done with all the others, I'll bring in that old one from the 90s. So here's that little figure, so this is what Luke looked like. I like that the armor is all like this darker, more maroon compared to the red. I do really like the red though, I think it looks nice and stands out. But just seeing and knowing this figure, you know, I always think it's supposed to be maroon colors, but you can see what it's supposed to look like. Of course, this had Luke's head underneath there as well. You could take off a very similar weapon design as you see there as well with the staff. So just wanted to show that as well. And overall, this is really cool. Just love the design and look of the armor. It looks really cool. Well, that's going to be it for our Star Wars Black Series Shadows of the Empire figures, where we got Prince Xizor and then our 2-pack of Leia in Boushh disguise and Luke in Imperial Guard disguise. So all three of these figures are really cool. Absolutely love Xizor and the Luke especially. Leia, like I said, would be better if it wasn't that we've had her 3 times before. So that's definitely the most disappointing figure. But I do, like I said, this is definitely my favorite version so far. So definitely nice to add her to the collection. So very cool figures overall. And I'm excited for Hasbro to release more Shadows of the Empire figures in the future, like Dash Rendar and Snoov and everything. So hopefully we'll get those not too far from now. But let me know your opinions of these 3 figures down in the comments. And if you enjoyed my review, let me know with that thumbs up and hit the subscribe button to see more. But I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you all stay awesome out there, and I'll see you in our next review.